Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Performance Café. And I started the Performance Café as a bit of a lark at the beginning of COVID in 2020. Well, not maybe the beginning, around about July. And I thought, I'm going to do recordings for 21 days because we were all stuck at home and didn't really know what to do with ourselves. And that's how this all started. And then beginning of last year, I think the very first guest we had in 2021 was my good friend Renate Jute. And we spoke about business optimization and, how are we going to deal with what COVID has done to businesses? And I'm so proud to say that Renate is back with us again today. And hi, Renate.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back. Little did we know a year later we'd still be sitting here and that COVID would still be a word and a thing.
And a thing, apparently.
So, Renate, the reason I invited you back today, besides the fact that, you're absolutely fabulous, I know that we've been speaking about business optimization and we've been taking a look at the numbers, the processes, the systems, the procedures. But in COVID, we realized, hold on, there's more to money and making money than just running a bunch of spreadsheets. Tell us a bit about what you're doing about helping people with financial situations right now.
So, yeah, it's quite interesting because just yesterday I actually did a presentation about the truth in numbers. And it really is, if you look at the layers, the onion skins of business, when you think that the numbers will tell you one thing. It'll tell you the profit, the loss, the assets, the liabilities, the income, the expenses. But when you break that down a bit more, it's what are those numbers really telling us? And it's not just numbers. Certainly the numbers is the data, but the data is telling us a story. And what is that story? And for me, in short, what I've learned is that the numbers at the end of the day is the end result. It is the outcome of actions. And those actions come from decisions we've made. And those are often driven by emotions. It is driven by the way we look at things, whether we are with our back against the wall or whether we're in the good space. How full is our tank? Are we coming from a space of abundance or from scarcity? Are we coming from a place of fear or resilience? Where are we when we're making these decisions, when we're taking these actions? That is really what the numbers are telling us. So it's more than just numbers. We have to go and understand the actions behind the numbers and the emotion behind the actions.
Okay, it's quite scary. In fact, what you're saying is really very scary because what you're saying is, let's face it, if we take a look at sort of like traditional business models, we normally have people like CFOs who are these wonderful, rational types and who help us lead businesses to make nice, rational decisions around money. Now you're saying to me, maybe not so much. It's more about the lived experience. Give us an example.
Well, to a certain extent, the best I can describe it is when I look at a spreadsheet. Oh, the magic word, spreadsheet. Just say it with me, spreadsheet. Oh, so yes, when we look at anything with a bunch of numbers on it, like a trial balance, is there something more exciting than a trial balance? Oh.
Many things.
So when we look at these documents with these numbers on, man, I get so excited. For me, it is like literally like, like trailers when in the old days when we were going to watch videos and we used to get the trailers in front of the video. To me, that was like the most fun. We got to watch snippets before we had to sit down for an hour and a half of our life. We were never getting back. Okay, so I used to love that part. Now, for me, looking at the trial balance, it is like that movie starts running in my head and the music starts playing and the angels start singing. I just love it because all of a sudden this whole movie starts playing and I can see the story. I can see from these numbers when I can see there are certain dips or certain things are not tying where it should be tying. It tells me that there's a different place we should look for the answer. And that could be, why are we making those decisions? Why, when I look at the figures this year compared to last year, and nothing else in the business has changed, leaving alone COVID or anything else, from one year to the next, why do things change so much? Then the only thing I can go and look at is what was behind the numbers. If my income, my sales pretty much stayed the same, my expenses pretty much stayed the same, what was the driving force? What was causing that? What caused that difference in the numbers? That's where I start digging. So I truly believe that we have to look at the emotions behind the numbers as well. And for me, even though I can say that for me, the numbers are black and white, there are no emotions. There's no gray areas. It's the emotions that drove those figures to where they are that we need to look at. And yes, the financial guys, the accounting guys, they have a narrow mandate. They've got a very limited mandate with what they have to do. You will give them certain instructions, certain requirements in your business. They can't fulfill everything. So you need to understand what you're asking them to do. And are they fulfilling those mandates? If you're asking them, make sure my books are up to date. Make sure that my taxes are up to date, that I don't get into trouble with the tax man. What is it that you require from them? And are they delivering on that mandate? It's my job to understand the human behind the numbers. They don't necessarily work with the emotions that drove the decisions to result in the numbers. Does that land?
It makes sense. So I know that you've taken to doing a lot of what you call sort of financial coaching or numbers coaching with business people, and that connects this concept of the decision I'm making based on the emotion that I feel related to it. So what you're saying then is a business owner will have a particular perception about numbers, and that perception will make them make specific decisions. But what does that mean about people's attachment? Because I mean, those numbers are normally money, right? So how does this mean that their view of money and have not is affecting the way they make decisions?
For sure. And it's not only the money, it will come through in how they plan the purchasing of assets, whatever those assets may be. It will come through in the maintenance of those assets. So a simple example, and it's not just the business owner, it's the people that work in your business. An interesting thing I was listening to at one stage is this company was putting people through a day interview. So if you came for an interview, you actually ran out with the team and worked a day with the team as part of the interview process. So you would have the first interview, and if they then decided that you could possibly that you had the attitude, now they wanted to check if you had the aptitude, they would run you with the team. And then they would get the feedback from the team that you had gone out and worked with. And in this particular case, the person had done very well, let's call it in the boardroom interviews. And he looked like he had all the criteria that was required. He had the skill requirements. He went out, and when they got the feedback from the team, when they asked the pertinent questions, could the person do the job? Could he understand? Did he follow instructions? Everything was yes, yes, yes. And when the question came, would you employ this person? Everyone said no. So the leaders were going, but hold on a minute. In the boardroom, all the answers were yes. On site, you answered yes to everything. Why would you say no? Because he did not treat the tools with respect. When it came to the end of the day, he opened the toolbox and just chucked the tools in. closed the box and chucked the toolbox on the vehicle. He never treated the equipment with respect. That filters through in anything. If you are a business owner and you've never had this level of respect in store, where you treat your assets with respect, you won't treat your money with respect, you won't treat your assets with respect, you will not treat your people with respect. As a matter of fact, you can go and see how people treat their people, the leaders, and you can almost follow that through to the money. All you have to do is actually walk into an environment and feel the atmosphere in reception. Then you have to walk into where the more junior staff, the more lower level staff, as it may be perceived, work, and pick up the atmosphere. And hear what they say about how upper level management comes down. Does it talk down to them? Does it talk with them or at them? And that's filtered down from higher levels and higher levels and higher levels. Why? Because as business owners, when we are not mature in our profiles and in ourselves, what may happen is we start employing more mini-me's rather than employing what can complement us. What we're doing, we are creating more of this hierarchy. And so what happens is, in the end, we just have an atmosphere of what really is going, yes, boss, rather than delivering and adding value. And you will see in your service delivery, in your output, in your stock control. So where do you pick this up? Either you're losing clients, so that as much as you are selling and bringing in new clients, the bottom is falling out with the old clients leaving, or you will have problems with quality control because your product being manufactured, there's no respect. People are not treating it. So either it's faulty equipment or people are not taking care of what they're doing. I used to have, when I was in, when I had my previous accounting firm, and this didn't happen once or twice. It happened with every single order. We would put in an order for stationery. We would say to them, here is our list of requirements. We do not want substitutes. If we say we need so many yellow highlighters, we need yellow because we highlighted stuff that needed to be scanned. We couldn't highlight in a different color. Whatever we needed color paper clips because we color coded certain stacks of information, whatever it may be. Once. And we used to order stationery at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. Not 1 month did we get the right order. Not 1 month. Then, of course, I would fly off the handles. Then the manager would come and see me. Then I would run through the problem. Then I would get promises. So what was happening is the person that was working with client service was doing their utmost to retain the business. But people delivering couldn't care less. Where are you going to see it? You're going to see it in losing your customer base, because the customer base, their need for stationery is not changing. This was pre-COVID. It was a company that was every month, on the month, ordering stationery. And year on year, you could go and track that the stationery was only ever increasing. It was never decreasing.
Yes.
So when you go and look at your numbers, now you can pick up, but hold on a minute, we're losing customers here. Why are we losing customers? And that's where I'm talking about. You can very quickly go and pick up what the numbers are telling us. You can't go blame that on the market.
Yes. Yes.
Now, COVID happens. And now you go, okay, but hold on. Now we don't have offices. People need less stationery. Rubbish. What we need to look at is, oh, hold on. People have changed their stationery habits. They are now working from home. They need a different type of stationery. They need different assistance. Oh, what specials can we run for home printing, home ink, whatever? You know, they're still going to need envelopes. Maybe they've got their office runner, their office driver collecting things between the offices. We've got hotspot offices. We've got hybrid offices. Stationery will always be stationery. For as long as people are going to have jobs, we're going to have stationery. It's what type of stationery. So now it becomes innovation. So again, it's just understanding where we are with the numbers.
So you're saying that because we hire individuals so much like ourselves, we don't introduce any diversity of thought, so we can't adjust.
In certain instances, yes. If we talk about an accounting firm, you want to employ some of the same ducks for the same pond. Employing a bunch of clowns in an accounting firm may not sit that well. You may need one clown for morale, but if you're going to employ sales and marketing type personalities in a more calm, rinse and repeat type of environment, you certainly will create a sense of uncertainty. So sometimes we do need more of ourselves, but every team does need a sense of diversity. You do need people that can bring in different skills. Even when you have a bunch of accountants or a bunch of salespeople, you still need diversity there, because we cannot all think the same. We don't all eat the same. We don't all dress the same. So why would we think we can employ the same and have a brilliant result?
So how does this loop back to the financial coaching that you do? Because when we hear the word financial coaching, we're thinking one-on-one, sitting with an individual and coaching them about their finances. How are you closing that loop?
Sure, I think, it's quite interesting, because people will approach me and go, okay, we need to look at my numbers. And I'll go, well, whoa. Before we can look at the numbers, we need to look at, where are we in this business? How far removed are we from where we actually wanted to be? If you have to think back to when you started out, or what was your vision, how close are we to that? Sometimes, yes, I will come in for financial coaching, but I don't touch the numbers until I'm quite far down the line, because you cannot fix numbers until you've actually looked at the mindset. Because sometimes we think we're ready to change things, but maybe not so much. I think people that want to quit certain habits. I mean, I'm not even going to go down that road of quitting coffee, because the world would just not be safe for those people around me until my third cup of coffee in the morning. So, I'm just not going to go there.
Yeah.
So I think it is really a matter of, for me, I look at the numbers, yes, but the numbers tells me the bigger story. And I won't work with the numbers until I've been able to work with all the different facets that got me to those numbers.
What do those include?
The facets that we work on.
Yeah. So you said you won't work with the numbers until you've got all the facets together. So what are those facets?
So I think that you need to look at the willingness to adapt and change. It doesn't just help that someone comes and says, okay, my numbers aren't working and we need to fix it. The numbers aren't working as a result of decisions we've made. Yes, of course, there can be certain influences there. But for the most part, we always have a decision to be made. Something's going to happen and we need to make a decision at that time. And yes, sometimes we have to pick the best of the two evils. But we have to make certain decisions, and the decisions we make will lead us where we are. And unless you are at a point where you can acknowledge that I need to be ready to change, I need to be ready to learn, and I need to be willing to make some tough decisions, we can't even start working on those things. We need to be ready for the change, whatever that change may be. And then we can start looking at the numbers, because also, for the most part, we get into trouble with the numbers because we're scared of the numbers. We don't want to look at the numbers. So if you're not ready to look at the numbers, and you're not ready to sit down and learn and understand the story of the numbers and your part you played in the numbers, it's going to be difficult to change anything around those numbers, because until we change certain behavior patterns, we will keep repeating those numbers. The numbers will just keep repeating, especially if we don't install proper change. Sometimes we want to make a change and we do like a half change. That's not going to help much, because you'll revert back to old patterns of behavior.
So what I hear you saying is that actually a major growth mindset needs to be available.
Certainly.
Why do you think Why do you think, as business people, we're so resistant about looking at those numbers and admitting what's going on there?
Maybe one of them could be, as business owners, a certain level of resilience is required. And resilience means thinking on your feet. It means changing lanes, being agile. And man, many people, I always say, I haven't met a number I didn't like. The thing is, people out there, they argue that they haven't met a number they liked. And often the numbers are showing them things they don't want to see. Either the sales aren't good enough, the expenses are too high, the taxes too much. So it's showing them things that they don't want to see, but without understanding how we can change the narrative. If we can understand how we can change the narrative, we may not change the numbers, but once we change the narrative, we actually understand what it means. We change our relationship with that number. The whole dynamic changes. It's not really the number, it's the story.
So, am I right in understanding that what you're saying is almost we don't want to look at those numbers because if they're not great, we feel condemned, we feel a failure?
Certainly. We're only as good as our last good number.
There we go. How do we change that mindset? Because as you said, that number doesn't change. That minus 40,000 whatever doesn't change. Help me understand how could a changed mindset, how can a paradigm change, a growth mindset make that different?
Well, we'll often say that if you are trying to do coaching for people, to understand that the result that you're having with the person is not directly correlating to your value. In other words, sometimes the people are not ready to change, which means it doesn't make you a good or a bad coach. Are they ready to change? Now, the same with the numbers. If we look at those numbers, what happens is the number in itself is not good or bad. What happens is that it is representing something. It's that story it tells you. And again, if we can understand the dynamic in that number, what is the story it's telling me? And if the story is telling me I need more sales, but we go and break that down and we go, but hold on, you're doing phenomenally well on sales. It is not the sales that's the issue here. The issue is that you are not delivering on your promises, or that there's a delay in getting a certain component. So you've made the sales, but you are not delivering somewhere down the line, which means that the component is not leaving the warehouse, which means the money is not coming in. So you've got all these sales lying on your books, but you haven't converted it into cash. So is it the sales that's the problem, or is it the delivery? Once you've been able to figure out where is the true problem, now we can change the narrative. Oh, hold on. The problem's not in the number of sales. The sales are coming in every month. The problem is in the delivery. How do we fix that problem, if we want to call it a problem? What is the change here? Is it resources? Is it training? What is it that I need to focus on here? Because if I fix that, the sales component starts looking better, because it's not the sales that's actually really my Achilles heel. It's maybe my profit margin. It's my cash flow. It's the money in my bank. Because what was my budget figure? I wanted to sell 100 units a month. Okay. I'm actually, when I go and look at the books, selling 107 units a month, increasing at a certain percentage. So I started 107, and by year end, on average, I'm selling 125 a month. So what am I doing? I'm excelling in my sales. So now the narrative has changed completely. Boys, we're doing superb. We're actually outperforming on our sales. So you see how that narrative has now changed.
So I understand how the narrative has changed, but how does that then link back to one person's way of thinking about the numbers, or about money, or about financial coaching?
So because for the most part, we get so involved in our role that we play. So we are the cog in the wheel in this in this big machine. Okay. So we get so focused on our involvement here, where I take the helicopter view. I can hover, I can look at everything and go, okay, hold on, how do all these bits fit together? And if this bit is improved, how does it improve the overall? So what happens is, and I refer to it as stable blind, when you are caught in that stable, in that little block, you become so stable blind to what else is happening around you. And you are like that hamster on that wheel. You think the faster I run, the more I will get. But you don't understand that the more of what? Because no matter that you are doing something, if the engine as a whole cannot actually integrate what you're doing, it's a waste of your energy. It is a waste of time. And far be it from me to have this waste of energy or time. I'd rather go, hold on, if we do have this excess of energy to be applied, let's apply it where it's needed. I'm not saying let's not apply energy, but if we have a lot of extra energy, apply it in the right place. It's sometimes also we have the person with the ideal view, the ideal way of looking at things, the ideal way of doing things, but in the complete wrong place in the business. So it's that unique contribution. And you've heard me say this often, we promote into incompetence. So we take our superstar performer in one area and we go, oh, okay, you can pull bunnies out of a hat. Let me plug the hole there with you. And what have we done? We've taken this person out of their zone of genius. We've plugged the hole, and all of a sudden this person no longer performs and just causes havoc. And now, what's wrong with you? You were fine yesterday. But whose fault? It's mine. I've moved the person from where they were great. So it's all those things. So it's, although you think you're working with one person, you're not. You're actually working with the organization. And sometimes, remember, organization can still be a one-man show. But the one-man show outsources roles, outsources functions. I can work with a one-man show that will be, I'll use myself as an example. Oh, dearie me. So marketing lady says to me, Renate, thou shalt. And I needed to have my one program that I'm doing on the platform so that we could do something with it. Like computer talk. All I know is I've done the program. I'm teaching people. But now she's talking computer language. Okay. So what happens? I'm going, okay, I'm going to do this now. It must now come from my head onto computer. 7 hours later, I phone back to marketing and I'm exploding because the buttons aren't working. So what have I just done? I've fallen foul of my own rules. I have taken my zone of genius, fixing businesses, and what have I done? I've gotten onto the back end of a website and tried to push buttons. You should never push buttons, not when we are me. No, Pentium inside, idiot outside. Let's not go there. So, and then I get the answer, but you should ask your developer. I'm like, what's a developer? Who's the developer? I'm the minister of website. And this is what I'm talking about. So at what point is it, no, you need to have a website person to make the problem go away. And that's what I'm talking about. Even as a one-man show, you need to have the right people in the right places to make stuff happen.
Yes. So this has been great, but I've got one question that I want to ask you. When we are a small business and a one-man show that doesn't have the major financial department or the board behind us to keep us on the straight and narrow, what is the effect of our relationship with money on our business? And doesn't that set us up for hiccups, especially if the business should start growing?
I think it's even more important then to understand your relationship with money and to surround yourself with either a proper business coach, financial coach, someone that can not necessarily hold you accountable, but hold up the mirror, someone that you can talk things through, a soundboard. Yes, it's a great place to be able to have coffee and talk things through with friends. But we need to be able to invest in our businesses and to invest in ourselves. And sometimes you need to bite the bullet and say, you know what, I'm going to spend a certain amount of money per month on investing in, let's call it a coach, a mentor, whatever word it is you want to use for that, a person that can be there for me, that can take me through this, that can guide me, because especially when things are tough and we don't know where to turn, and you've heard me say this as well. I'll often say to people, may your life one day be as great as you make it out to be on Facebook, because we live in this era of social media and keeping up appearances. And it's great to show up and be present when things are going well. But when things are going not so well, and it's tough, and you don't know where the next deal is coming from, and it feels like the walls are closing in, and that mindset of scarcity is kicking in, it's so difficult to show up for yourself, and it's so difficult to then go to your mates that are living the life or appearing to living the life, and to go, geez, I don't know which way to turn, because you need to speak to people that actually they don't necessarily in it to like, they're in it to give you the right advice or the right mentor or the right coaching to guide you. So that would be my advice, is to make sure that you've got a soundboard. Whatever you want that soundboard to be, whatever you want to call that soundboard, but have a soundboard that you value and respect. And if you're not in a position where you can pay for that, there are so many resources. There are podcast shows. There are shows like yours. There are books you can read. There are audio books. If you don't want to read, you can download audio books. There are YouTube videos. But do be cautious where you heed your counsel. You, at the end, want to make sure that you get your advice or your guidance from a school that you respect, from people that share your ethics, that shares your view, that shares your values. Because not everyone is going to resonate with everyone else. You will find people that you resonate with and that you like and respect. Find people that you like and respect and learn from them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Renate, again, thank you so much for kicking off another year with us. I hope to see you in January next year so that we can see what 2022 held up for us. It's almost like we're doing a little annual review right now.
There we go.
So thank you so much. Thank you for humanizing business. For me, one of the biggest things for me is this whole thing that we treat people like little cogs in the wheel in business. And I think what I've taken away from what you've said, I've taken a lot away, but what really stands out for me is this concept that even the boss is a human. And we have to if we don't take account of our humanity in business, we actually will see that in the numbers as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate you spending your time with us, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Renate. So everyone, yet again, a lovely session with Renate. What a stalwart she's become to Performance Café and one of our favorite coffee companions. And yeah, I suppose there's no other way to say it, but that people are people, and we have to take care of our peopliness in our businesses. And so I hope that you will do the same. And of course, please reach out to Renate. We'll include all of her contact details below. She has the Business Brainwaves podcast. She has masterclasses. She herself is a profuse content generator. So there's a lot of information to be had there. And so, as always, if you've followed us on YouTube, if you've loved this episode, please do like and then subscribe, so that you know when the next episode's available. Oh, and click on the notification bell. And if you have joined us from LinkedIn or Facebook, you are always more than welcome. It is lovely to have you with us. And then will you also like, share, and comment. And then until next week, when we take a look at the next coffee companion, I look forward to seeing you then.